Okay, I gotta start by admitting I'm lazy. I got this coffee station in the kitchen, and I got it all figured out. I got my coffee pot, I got a little kettle for tea, and I've got my sugar and all of that sitting there, and I can get my coffee cups are right above, and I even got a little stir stick so I can stir, grab right there. But I got this one problem. I have to walk all the way across the kitchen to throw away the little tea bags and packets and stir sticks, and that seems just highly inefficient. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to build a box. It makes a nice little box. Set on the counter, I'm going to have a push-down lid so I can put my little trash in there and have a pretty little box. Should be a lot of fun. Here's what I'm going to do. So my last project, I built this small charcuterie board. It's made out of cherry and walnut and a little bit of red oak. And I'm going to turn it into a box. I'm going to go ahead and just slice it. So I'm going to slice it into thin slices, laminate the slices onto a thicker piece of wood, cut that down, turn the whole thing into a box, and just have a lot of fun with it. I'd love to have you join me. Let's get started. So the first thing we have to do is actually cut the wood down to slices so that I can laminate it. When we do this, it's called a veneer. So we'll cut it down to veneer and then laminate it on another piece of wood and make that work. So I'll be cutting this. I've got the saw set up at a little over 1/8 of an inch. I'm cutting the slice a little over 1/8 of an inch. That'll allow me to sand down to 1/8 of an inch. It takes a lot of sanding to get it good and smooth. But basically all you do is you set it up, set your bandsaw. I've got a 3/4 inch blade, which is good for resawing, and doing it like this, and you just cut them. So here we go. I went ahead and cut the second ones just to demonstrate, but I'd already cut the first ones. So now what we've got, so out of that one charcuterie board, I now have 2 boxes, because what I'm going to do, like I say, laminate these and make them thicker, and then cut them into, so each one of these will be a side and an end. So out of that one charcuterie board, and actually if you watch the last project, I made 2 charcuterie boards, I end up with 2 boxes, or in this case 4 boxes because of the way I did it. So for Christmas presents and stuff like that, man, this is the way to go. All the work is here, and then you build a box. So the next step is to glue the pieces together, which is officially called laminating. So we're going to laminate this veneer to this piece of wood and let them dry. Make sure you get really good coating, because this is what's going to keep the whole thing together. And you don't want weird little cracks somewhere in the middle where you can't see. Here. Obviously. Putting that on. I'm putting that on. There we go. Let it dry. So I've trimmed it all down. I milled it down. I actually ran it through the planer to make sure it's flat, make sure they're both the same thickness. I cleaned it up. I also have sanded all the way down to 220. It's a whole lot easier to sand it like this than it is when it's all in a box, especially this part, which is going to be inside the box. So now I'm going to cut these. Now I'm doing, because I'm using this pattern, if you're just using a normal piece of wood, then you want to make the box exactly like this, then basically it needs to be, obviously if you just got your own piece of wood, you can make it any dimension you want. The concepts will still work, so measure it any way you please. Help yourself. What I'm actually doing is I'm using this pattern, and it's got, if you'll see, it ends up with these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diamonds. So my concept is I'm going to put a diamond, I'm going to put 2 diamonds on the end piece, and 3 diamonds on the side piece. So that's that. And so what I'm going to do is this will leave, I'm going to call the left side the side piece, and then I'll cut that there. So what I'm about to do is cut 45-degree angles. So this will be a side, and this will be an end, and this will be a side, and we'll do the same thing with this. Oh, I'm going to study it a little bit and make sure I get it right, because what I want to do is, that's what I need to do. I need to turn it backwards. Ooh, this is right, this is right. Okay, turn it backwards. So, turn it backwards, line it up, because the trick is, you gotta you gotta line in the same place if you have any hope of them actually lining up. So there we go there. This is straight. Okay, so that's how I'm going to cut this one. Okay, so we're going to cut these using a crosscut sled. And so what I'll do is basically just run each one up where I can hit the line. So that should come out. There we go. So now we get to put it together. If I didn't screw it up, it's always the big point. Alright, so, oh man, this works pretty sharp. It's definitely one of those, if at first you do succeed, try to contain your astonishment. Alright, let's see how this looks. Alright. So it kind of follows. Well, look at there. I think it mostly worked. Oh, that's just cool. All right, so here we go. We're just going to glue it up. Right. There. Oh. Doesn't work. There we go. We have one square box. Okay, the next step, we're going to put a bottom on it. So I'm just telling you, what I did is I took a piece of this cherry. I still have some cherry left over. So I took a piece of this cherry, cut it down to 6 inches. The piece was wide enough to be wide. And I went and milled down. I cut an 1/8 inch piece, about a 3/8 inch piece, and another 1/8 inch piece off of it. So I can use one piece for the bottom, and I'll end up using this piece for the top. I've trimmed this down to basically just a smidge bigger than the box, so I can sand down the difference. All right, the next thing to do is I'm going to put these strips, basically, and I'm just using them kind of as a little veneer to cover up the seam and all. So I'll be doing this, and this is basically just gluing them on. So first one, so I'm going to use this little doohickey I have that's great for this stuff, but it's got like perfect angles on it. It's really a nice doohickey. we go. All right, so that's there. That will go right there. All right, next up we're going to put splines in it. Basically splines are, you cut a little groove and you put a little piece of wood in it, a small triangle. It ends up being a small triangle of wood. And what that does is gives you some glue surface going this direction, so it helps hold the whole thing together. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put hidden splines. You can do hidden splines or you can do visible splines, unhidden. Anyway, you can use splines as a design element. So if you've got a bunch of, one kind of wood, you can use a different kind of wood as just an offset piece. But for this one, since it's got such a strong pattern, I don't want to be contradicting or interrupting that pattern. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of walnut and basically cut a spline right here in each spot. And that way I put one there, it should kind of disappear into the other walnut, hopefully. And it'll look good. So there we go. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do the splines. Basically, you just take a piece of wood. In this case, I just got a little thin strip. So you take this, cut your little triangle. Triangle, make sure it's going to fit. I kind of sanded these down so they'll fit. Get you some glue on it. And shove it in there. So I'll put all these in, and then I'll go around and cut them off and sand them off and all that. Okay, this is a fun one. I'm trying to figure out the top, right? So in theory, with mine, I'm gonna have a little pivot, and it's gonna sit in here, and it's gonna pivot, and when I push it down, so I can throw my little trash in there, it will then pop itself back up again. So the way this is gonna work is I'm gonna put a pivot, I'm gonna put dowels here, I'm gonna glue this to it to add some weight, and that should pull it all. Hopefully it's gonna work, we'll see. I'm not really sure. I've sanded down the sides a little bit, so I made a little sand a little angle into the sides so it won't catch as it comes up and goes down. So anyway, here we go. The tricky bit is going to be drill the holes. So what I did is I took two pieces of 2x4 from the pile, cut them down to be the exact same height as this. I'm going to clamp them together, right? So, all right, let's clamp together that way. Clamp together that way. All right, so hold it up just to give it some more space. So what I'll do, I'm going to drill a hole 1/3 of the way down, and that's where the pivot's going to be. I do 1 9/16, which obviously is a smidge over 1 1/2, right? Yeah, whatever. Okay, 1 9/16 there. That's center. Just to help me make sure I get started. So now I got this gadget, which is just helps me drill straight holes. So I'm going to put this gadget over here. I don't want to go too far in. I want to go about 3/8 inch in to cover it. This thing's an inch thick, so I've had so I've had an inch 3/8 because I have to stay over this thing. We've got a inch and 3/8. Here we go. Whoa! We did it. You don't succeed. Try to contain your astonishment. All right, try this again. All right, so it's going to go in about 3/8. Stay out. All right, so we're just cut a big. Turn it down. So here we go. I got this cut, and now I got to figure out how to cut the. Next thing we'll do is figure out how to cut the pivots. So on to the next thing. Okay. Now what we have to do is we have to create the pivot points on this, right? So we got our top, and it's going to go this way or that way, right? So what we got to do is find exactly where we want to cut our pivot points. So all I'm going to do is I'm putting it here, and I guess. All right, so make sure it's where you want it to be, and then mark underneath. Make sure you get it. All right. Okay. So now what we're going to do is drill a hole that these will set in. I'm kind of making this up as I go. What I'm going to do, I'm clamping this on just to give it some additional support, because I'm going to drill real close to this edge. So I just want to make sure the whole thing doesn't just collapse on me when I do it. Now I got to figure out how to do. I want it to come to exactly the top. So when it sits, what I'm doing is I'm cutting a little channel here, so these will sit in the channel. And I want the top as closely as possible to be aligned. You know, I want it to be aligned at the top, obviously. So that's a hole. So then we just cut these down so they're a channel. All right, there we go. I got a little bit of stickage down here. I'm going to be filling with it. I'll fill with that a bit. It's kind of sticking, so I'll probably do a little sanding or filing or whatever to get it to where it hangs right. Right? Cool. Okay, so I've done this. We cut this and mounted those, and I cut this, and now I've been fiddling around with it. And I've got it to where it falls right. I did have to do a bit of sanding and stuff, a little bit off. Anyway, so but what I'm trying to do is, see, I want it to, you know, I want it to push it down and then it pop back, right, or pop back to here because it's a little trash can, right? Cute little trash can. So what I figured I'd do, I thought I could just take a piece of wood. And I figured, you know, this is 1/3, so as long as the total of this was weighed the same amount as that, whatever. Well, but you know, of course, physics doesn't actually work that way. And as it turns out, because this is so much longer, that doesn't really work. So what I did is I took this block of wood and drilled a bunch of holes in it and put a whole bunch of fishing lures in it, just these basic fishing lures. Filled it up, shoved a bunch of sawdust in there, put some glue in there, let it dry, sand it down. So I have a weight. So anyway, this is my counterbalance. So now that I know that, I tested it and it seemed to work with a, I used double stick tape and tested it. So, okay, that goes to the back. Okay. All right, so we'll let that dry. So a couple of things to consider. I've done this, I put it back a third, I thought that would work. There's a couple of issues with that. I've noticed it's going way down in there, so I'm probably going to have an issue with stuff getting stuck on the bottom and whacking it. So if you're going to do the flip down like I did, I at this point, especially in addition, have an issue with the weight. Put it in the middle, center it, and that way it's all just going to flop back and forth, and you could put just a little bit of weight on this one. And I think it would work, but also wouldn't go down as far. And anyway, so think about that. The other thing to consider is if you don't want a little push down thing, if you put your pivots way back here, what you have is then a box that pivots this way. And so you like drill a little hole or put a little knob. I mean, there's any number of ways to do it, but you could have a lift up. So you could do the same thing just as easily as I'm doing the push down. You could do a lift up thing, put the pivot back here. I think you just put, actually if you put like a half circle on it, that'd be pretty cute. You could pull that up. And then you would put a stop here. I'm going to end up putting a stop here to keep it from going down. You put a stop here. So anyway, something to think about when you're working on yours. Okay, I got it glued on. I trimmed these down a little bit so that they're the right length. And then what I did is I'm trying to test mine. I'm doing this push down thing. So what I did, because I don't want it to hang, I finally got it to where it's mostly hanging back that way. So basically what I have is this little piece of wood, this piece of cherry cut off from something. And I'm going to glue it in here at just the level so that when this thing goes down, it stops it, right? So all I'm going to do is glue this on here and all right, I'm just let that dry. So next we just need to finish it. I'm going to use a water-based poly on this one. I often use tung oil, but since this is going to be in the kitchen and there's potentially a lot of water involved just because it's in the kitchen, it's going to sit by the coffee pot, I'm going to go ahead and coat it with this. So there you go. So I'll probably put like 2, maybe 3 coats of this. I'll probably sand it down a bit after each coat to try and keep it somewhat smooth because the brushes aren't that smooth. And we'll see how it goes. Well, looky here, we have built ourselves a beautiful box. I love the way it is. The pattern turned out beautifully. It connects well. I'm very pleased how it flows. I'm very pleased with the size of the box. I think it turned out great. I like the little lid. The lid's working. So I'm very pleased with it. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the building it if you choose to build it. Thanks for watching. If you do like the video, please click the like button. Please click the subscribe button and click the notifications so you'll be notified of other videos if you'd like. I'd appreciate it. If you have any comments, leave them below. Thanks a bunch for joining me. I've had a good time. I hope you have as well.